Welcome back to Citizen Arcane. We are a little bit late. Basically, every year I do my Lil'Devil Awards, which is just accounting for the books that I've read in the previous year. And, I know that this is not one of the ones that will get a whole lot of views, so we're going to do a little experimenting as I've just recently got, not Toonly, but Doodle. And I want to thank everybody who has come to our channel, clicked on our channel, subscribed, clicked on our links. That is such a big deal. It really helps, and we really appreciate it. Before I begin, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some failures from 2023. I did fail at NaNoWriMo again this year. I've done NaNoWriMo successfully twice and unsuccessfully twice. And I think I know, why when things go south, they do. I don't want to make excuses, but I'm still working on it. And I am quite jealous. So a close friend of mine recently wrote not one, but two books. I've read the first one. I'm halfway through the second one, and I'm going to unabashedly give them an award or awards this year. So for fiction, I did not read a lot of fiction this year, not quite enough. I use Goodreads to keep track of that kind of stuff because I think sometimes I veer off into little rabbit holes that I spend too much time in. But Gateway to Pangea, which is the first of two by new author Ross Kester, really enjoyed it. Good, breezy read. I'm not normally a big science fiction fantasy reader, but this one really did a good job. And again, I just burned through it and really enjoyed it. I'm taking more time on the second one because I'm taking notes. Next up is The Shootist by Miles Swarthout, and really a good Western done. I think it was written in the 60s, and it was later made into a movie with John Wayne. I don't know how it got on my TBR, but it popped up after having been on my TBR for at least 5 years. And I read it, burned through it, really enjoyed it. They got a lot out of it. It's not just an action adventure Western. It is also something a little bit deeper. And unfortunately, I did read It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis. It's one of those books that I thought I should read. I always thought I should read it. I finally got to it, and I understand the point that it was trying to make, but it was overly long and just not an enjoyable read. But it's one of those books that I thought I should read. I'm glad I did read it. I got something from it, but I didn't get the value per page that one would hope. I did want to mention, I like sports history. I read a lot of history, and sports history, especially of the minor leagues or the second tier leagues, I really enjoyed. So I read Bad News Barnes by Marvin Carey. And it was really good. It was about Marvin Barnes, who was a ABA player and whose life really had its ups and downs. And it touched on a lot of people who later became much more significant in the world of sports. And it's an enjoyable read for anybody who wants to read it. But this year, the theme for this year seems to have been failed assassins. I read a lot of books about failed assassination attempts. And I think probably the best one was Squeaky by Jess. I'll have to put that on the screen. And it was about Squeaky Fromme, or Fromme, or how she pronounced her name in different ways at several occasions. But it was much more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be, and it provided a lot more context than I thought it would. Other reviewers of the book were less kind to it, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a worthwhile read for anybody who's interested in that kind of thing. When Harlem Nearly Killed King. There's a couple books about this failed assassination attempt that happened in 1958. A worthy read, very surprising. But the best failed assassin book, I thought, was The 5 Weeks of Giuseppe Zangara, and it was about a failed attempt at FDR's life, and the aftermath, the 5 weeks afterwards. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's one of those historical things that just I had never been aware of, and I really enjoyed the book and the way it was structured and how it really laid out a very, very interesting story. And then, of course, I read a lot of history, and Historians Fighting, I'm calling this one. The number one book for this year, I think, was when Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, which really does close the argument, for me at least, for people who are familiar with that story. You know, Thomas Jefferson fathered many, many children with a much younger. I didn't realize how young Sally Hemings was when this happened, and of course, there's many, many. It definitely changes my perspective on Thomas Jefferson and some founding fathers. Now, we will talk today about the Zinn effect and this bottom-up history and sort of a narrative-driven history that is. But that one, I really, really got a lot out of it. It is a worthy read, and put some more information up on that one. Lies My Teacher Told Me, which again is along the lines of the people's history of the United States, goes back and talks about some of the negative parts of American history, which is valid and good. But a long time ago, I read Debunking Zinn, which does talk about the historical accuracy of Zinn and others like him in that sort of group. There was a group of a few historians that I think fell prey to that. Anyway, Lies My Teacher Told Me is not quite as engaging as the people's history of the United States, but there are some vignettes in history that I think will be opened up, especially if you're of that ilk that is looking for something negative about the United States. You will find it there. I did want to say, in that group of Zinn acolytes, there was Staunton Lynn, who wrote Living Inside Our Hope, which is a series of essays. I never liked those kinds of books. I didn't like this one, and I found it was particularly self-serving. It's just hard to get through these essay books. But anyway, not a big fan of that one. Moving on, the CIA's control of Candy Jones. I wanted to give that a mention because, again, I am prone. I have had to admit this before. YouTube took down one of my videos because it said I was engaging in dangerous conspiracy theories. Well, I don't know. The CIA's control of Candy Jones, really enjoyable book. I give it some credibility. If anybody has seen Wormwood, which is this next Netflix documentary about the Frank Olson case, I would like to hear about that. But anyway, and then let's see. So the big fatties of the year, I read Hirohito, which is Hirohito in the Making of Modern Japan, which I think it was kind of overdone. I was most interested in the Indianapolis, the USS Indianapolis, and Fatal Voyage, I think, did a better job of that, although still not a great book. There was a bunch of books about the Pueblo and the Indianapolis this year that I sort of went through. Anyway, and then Justice Brennan, A Liberal Champion. I fancy myself a follower of the court. I did enjoy that one, but again, a little bit overlong for what you're looking for there. And anyway, so that is my Lil'Devil Awards for 2024. Let me know what you think. Much appreciated, and have a great day.